This is 37 Families, Epilogue. In this episode, we will be talking about the lineal lines corresponding to the 37 families. To begin, each of the 37 families comprises two sets of lineal lines, a matrilineal line and a patrilineal line. The interesting thing about this is that it means in fact there are 74 lineal lines, which comprise these 37 families. Now, each of these lineal lines represents one of two components. The first component is the spatial non-consensual line. That is to say, the concealed line. The second component is the archetypal consensual line, that is the self-conscious line. Let me explain. The concealed line produces the same arrangements of social actors, the same organization of social actors, which the self-conscious line does, merely without the concomitant verbalizations and hence rationalizations, or archetypal assignments. In other words, the concealed line manifests reality according to their concealed impulses, which are pre-verbal. The self-conscious line manifests reality according to their self-conscious impulses, which are post-verbalization. An alliance between these two sets of 37 lines generates the consensus reality. Now, the archetypal consensual line generates an inward-facing non-consensuality, which is to say, that the self-conscious verbalizations of the archetypal consensual line face inward, capturing the territory of the family within either patrilineal or matrilineal line. The spatial non-consensual line generates an outward-facing non-consensuality, which is to say, that the concealed impulses of the line face outward, imposing expectation matching independent of verbalization on all system members. In other words, there are two kinds of every archetypal designation. There is the concealed variant and the self-conscious variant. One conducts the archetypal role instinctually. The second is reinforced in early development. What distinguishes the concealed variant from the self-conscious variant? The concealed variant learns by experience in a vacuum and protects their territory by instinct. The self-conscious learns by reinforcement and finds their territory protected by the group as a whole. Now, what determines these two variants, these 74 lineal lines? Alliances between the concealed lines and the self-conscious lines occur owing to the dialectic of history. That is to say, that individual offspring will gravitate toward partnering with either a recidivist or progressivist partner depending upon the history of that line. Let me give you an example. Suppose you have grown up with a dialectical worldview to your family. Suppose that you in fact disagree with their view of historical events within your family. You exist within a dissonant consensuality relative to your family. When you go to look for a partner, you will find someone who shares that view of historical events, on a broader scale, fitting them into a larger narrative. So, let's say you live in country A. And 50 years ago, country A and B were at war. But country A was successful in the war. But you have a distinct view of history within country A. More precisely, with respect to your family history. Because you exist within a dissonant consensuality, you are more likely to partner with someone from country B, whose larger narratives can incorporate your personal narratives into a larger historical narrative. But more importantly, if you come from an archetypal consensual family, you are more likely to partner with a spatial non-consensual partner. Now, it is trite to say that, and I am not suggesting this is about prediction. It is more about the larger implications of this partnering. If you exist within a dissonant consensuality, then you cannot partner with members of the conjoint consensuality, which leaves only spatial non-consensual lines. The concealed variants. This is so because you lack the requisite verbalizations necessary to partner. That's the end of the podcast for today.